plateaus and how to get past a plateau. For plateaus, like on your big compound movements like a squat, bench, and deadlift, getting past those is a lot harder than for strongman plateaus, because with strongman you use so many different other movements that it's kind of hard to plateau compared to doing the same bar movement like squat, bench, deadlift. It's pretty easy to plateau on those, and I'm going to tell you how to get past that. So for like the deadlift, for example, if you're plateaued on your deadlift, bar deadlift from the ground, the best thing I would do is obviously have a program for it, building up to bigger numbers by doing more reps and sets in the beginning, usually about 3 top sets I like of 5 reps, and keep increasing each week. And if your body can't adapt to that and you're not getting stronger from that, it usually is because you have plateaued. And the way to get past that is to change the exercise up for that event, for that exercise. So like for the deadlift, you're working mostly your back and you're doing bar deadlifts. What I like to do is change from a bar deadlift to a frame deadlift. Either a frame deadlift or a farmer deadlift or a car deadlift, or if you don't have this other equipment, most you won't, besides like hexagon bar, you might have that, which is a great alternative to the deadlift if you've plateaued on it. But other movements that you can do if you don't have like a hexagon bar or a frame or a farmer deadlift variation, I would do the bar from a different height. So it doesn't even matter if your weakness is like off the floor or if it's higher up, because my sticking point on the deadlift changes sometimes, as the weight gets heavier, this and that. For my strength training, when I lift bigger numbers, and my sticking point is lower or higher. So all I like to do is change it up, like doing deficits. Even if you're not weak off the ground, I still do them. And same thing if you're not weak up higher, you can lift more weight. You're still overloading your body, which is going to be able to make more gains because your body will adapt to a heavier weight, which is harder with a less range of motion, and it will be more in shock and more. You'll get through your plateau because when you come back to the regular bar deadlift, your body won't be able to lift as much weight because it's from a lower position, but your body will adapt to heavier weights and be like, well, this is not that much weight, I can easily lift this up. So that's the best thing for that, is deficit deadlifts or higher variation, like a 14-inch, 16-inch, 12-inch, it doesn't have to be that big. But that definitely will help you get through your deadlift plateau, and do a program off of that, and you should blast through that. And then for like the squat, what I like to do is I like to do SSB squats or box squats. SSBs, you might not have SSBs on SSB bar, but those are the ones I like. But you can do, because with a bar still, you can do either front squats, which is a different alternative, which will help get you through your back squat plateau, or you can do box squats, where basically you will obviously have the bar on your back and you'll come down into a squat position on a box or a bench, and you will obviously come back up. That will help work your back and your legs more, and you'll come to a dead stop, which is kind of like a deadlift, where your regular squats, basically it's all free weight, and you're always loaded with it on your thing. But when you come down to a box, it kind of decompresses the weight, and the weight goes in your butt rather than your feet. Even though you're supposed to still be tight and everything, it's a different movement on its own, and it will help get you through that. But yeah, mostly for me, if I get plateaued on a bar squat, the weight's not going up, I like to do SSB squats, SSB box squats, and what I used to do, which really helped me, was yoke squats, which it's like a WSM squat, basically where I would squat with a yoke with weights, and I come down, I tap it, and come up. Basically, like the variation here would be with tires on there and a bar, and come down and you tap. It's like a strongman squat. That's also a good alternative, but the best thing would be like SSB squats or front squats or box squats if you're plateaued in the regular bar squat. But if you keep doing the same exercise over and over and expecting a different result, it's just not going to happen. So if your back squat or deadlift, and I'll get to the bench, plateaus at all, just the numbers aren't going up, and you're training it week on week, no matter what you do, it's just going to stay there. I mean, I've tried that so many times where I've had a program where I have axle deadlifts, and I'd switch it up and I'd do bar deadlifts, but the weight would be about the same or less, and everything wasn't working. And I was wondering why. Because it's the same variation. even though it's a different bar, my body's still recognizing it and it's going to plateau. It's not going to get stronger from that. Where if I change the exercise up, whether I do frame deadlifts or a higher variation of the deadlift, then my body is guessing again and it's going to get stronger from that, and I'm not going to plateau anymore. And then I get stronger after that, and then after that program, I come back to the regular bar deadlift and I'll build that up. So you have to do that when you're more of an intermediate to advanced lifter. When you're a beginner or like a noob, obviously you don't have to do that as much because you can just get all those noob gains and stuff. Compared to more intermediate, you gotta like plan things out, program things, and then in advance you have to always do that. So for the bench now, what I would do for the bench is, what I have done is I used to always do this, was where I go for bench, and obviously once I plateaued on that, the weights are getting more reps or more weight, I go in and I switch over to dumbbell presses, which is kind of hard though, because you usually don't get as heavy as dumbbells at your gyms or your own home gym or anything like that, even though I do, but other alternatives than that would be chains, which is nice. And obviously I like to pause it sometimes in that too, but it's not going to really change the variation if you just change from doing bounce reps to pause reps. So I like to put on chains or bands where basically the weight is lighter at the bottom and it gets heavier on the way on top. So that your body's going to adjust to that and not know what that is, and that helps get me through plateaus too. But dumbbells are they're good too, because it's, you're using both your pecs independently compared to using, in sync with the bar. So your body's also guessing that way too. But that's what I do for the bench, and then obviously practice your overhead too. Because if you don't practice that, like any incline presses and other things like that, because I always practice bench and overhead. So yeah, that's what I would do for those three basic movements if you plateaued on them and the weight's just not getting more. But obviously another huge aspect of it is obviously the three things: your sleep, nutrition, and training. So if you're not getting enough sleep and you're not recovering that much, then obviously it's going to be hard. So, and another thing too, besides not getting enough sleep, is if you're overtrained. You can overtrain or undertrain. So obviously if you're training it too much, you'll be sore every workout, the numbers will just keep going down or they'll stay the same, and your body isn't recovering for that. But when you train for whatever movement it is, you're making micro tears in your muscles and your body's adapting to that, and obviously you've weakened yourself, so your body repairs it and gets it stronger. And if you don't wait long enough for that to repair and get stronger, basically what you're doing is you weaken the muscle, it starts to repair, and then you weaken again by training again, and basically you're just tearing it down. It's not having enough time to recover back up to get stronger. So if you overtrain it, obviously that's not good too. And with weight training, there's a very fine line. It's complicated. You can't overtrain it and you can't undertrain it. With cardio, for any cardiovascular sport or anything like that, you can just run your body into the ground. You can run all day and all night, and you just drills after drills, just cardio all the time. Just completely just trash your body with hundreds of hours on end of cardio workouts. And your body will just keep getting better at that. But when it comes to weight training, if you do that to your body, your muscles are just going to tear. You're just going to injure yourself, or you're just going to keep getting weaker. Your muscles, you need time to repair itself, to get stronger. You just won't make any progress, or you'll go backwards. So, let's wait for that. Another thing too is nutrition. Nutrition is very important. You always want to be supplying yourself with a lot of protein, but obviously a lot of carbs, fuel, and getting your greens in, and calcium too. So like eggs, for yogurts and milk, and then also tons of calories. If you have a calorie surplus, you'll always usually get stronger from that. But obviously, majority of those calories in the surplus want to be healthy calories. So you want to eat a lot more rather than eating less. But fattier foods. Extreme would be like a fast food place. But if you're eating pizza or something like this, it has a lot more calories. It's going to be a calorie surplus, but you're going to be having more fat than you would be building muscle. Rather, if you ate a lot more like beef or turkey, or and you had a lot more quantity of that, like of lean beef and turkey, that will help build more muscle and be more beneficial than something like that. And you have a calorie surplus for your body weight. You can Google that all up on your calorie surplus, how much you need for this. Okay, so for strongman movements, This is at the end because I don't think a lot of people really know or care about this. You know, hopefully they do, it'd be good. But for strongman movements, how to get better at them, if you plateau at a certain event like the Atlas stone or the log press or any of those other movements, obviously it's like the same thing. You gotta switch the exercise up. So instead of like a log press, I'll do a bar press or an axle press or a dumbbell press. I'll just switch that up and rotate it and get better at that. My body will adapt, and then I'll switch back to that and build that up. Same goes for like stones. Instead of stones, I do kegs, I do sandbags, and you just alternate it, and your body keeps guessing and keeps getting stronger in each one. You just keep building up. But for those lifts, you get your core strength, like not your core strength, but like your all-around body strength, and yes, your core strength too, up at all your entire body, so you can translate all this to those other movements. Obviously, getting your squat and deadlift up is huge. It's very beneficial. Those are both very beneficial because it's a big foundation to have a big deadlift and squat to help translate that strength to those events. You know, and then once you have the strength, you can translate that to technique for all those other events, and then you train that over and over, and you'll get the technique down and everything like that. So that's another thing too, because like I've stepped away from stones and from sandbags and other things too, because I'm really good technique-wise and stuff. And then I worked on more my deadlift and squat, and it got those numbers up. And then when I went back to that, I was way stronger without practicing them because my strength is up. And all it is, it comes out to technique.
Everything changes.